Hey, this is going to be Wednesday, August 29th, and we're going to get into talking about short stories, which is super exciting. We have a quiz coming up on Friday, which once again you're going to want to bring your notebook, and you're going to want to bring the handout from the first day, because you'll be able to use those to help you out. What we're getting into today, those of you at home, we're going to be using this handout, which you're not going to have because you're not here, but you'll grab it tomorrow. So remember to ask tomorrow to have this. I'll try to post it to my website, which you could print, but that sounds like work, and most of you are lazy, so don't worry about it. Just get it tomorrow. Just make sure you pay attention, and you should be good. Quiz coming up. Book report book. I have not seen that. I'll need to see your book report book by tomorrow. If not, then I have to charge you points and be mean and stuff like that. So have it by the time you walk in by then. All right. Next up. The learning we're going to get into is the next unit is going to be short stories, which I enjoy because I choose all of my short stories. But along those same lines, before I can get to short stories, I have to do the basic building blocks. We're going to do notes. But I don't like notes because notes are boring. So we're going to do speedy notes, and I'm going to just give you all the answers on the sheet. So you get to copy it down. If you are lazy and don't copy it all down, that's fine with me. It just hurts future you. Because this is a handout you get to use to answer questions on the quiz next week. And so if all you do is like draw a picture of a squirrel, then next week is going to make your life much tougher. And that sounds like a future you issue, that you just hate future you. I'll do my best to poke you with a stick when needed, but at some point you have to take responsibility for your own choices. First off, and those of you who have paid attention to school in the past, you probably know all the answers to this. It's probably going to be a review for you. So hopefully we can speed through it. If you don't know all this, then you're going to get this thing called learning, where I get to educate you. So it's going to be win-win, however you want to look at it. As in the first thing, with a short story that we're going to get into is a thing called a plot, which hopefully you know at some point. A plot. Do you guys know what a plot is?
The story. It's the main purpose of the story.
Close. I'm going to go. That's closer to the theme, but you're on the not a bad guess.
The problem. No.
I've heard problem, which is not bad, but it gets closer to conflict, which is a different thing we're going to get into.
What's going on in the story?
That's the word I'm looking for. Good job, Benny. But what happens in a story? I try to aim nice and simple. I try to dumb it down for you as best I can. So basically, plot, the what happens. So like our book over there, we have the one we're reading. Angry kid comes in and threatens girls and tries to get money and turns to be a humongous jerk. Apparently he's the one that's going to kill somebody, but he seems like he's the one that should die. So, I don't know. It's according to the back of the book.
Wait, spoilers?
It's on the back of the book.
Oh.
It said our friend Al killed somebody and they came and told us. I wasn't trying to spoil it, I just read the back. But I'm thinking he's the one that should die because he seems like a jerk.
I'm done.
But I could see him killing people too, but once again, I think Al's not a good person. But it's the what happens in the story. It's also an outline of the major events that happens in the story if you want to. Whenever we do a story, we're going to break it into like the 5 most important things that happen. And I'll just ask you the plot, what happens in the story? You're like, I don't know, there's a curious monkey that's with the man with the yellow hat. Or there's a sponge who's friends with a starfish, or whatever is going to be happening until the plot. Yeah.
Do we write anything in here?
That's where you draw the picture of the squirrel. If you want to, you don't have to.
Wait, we actually have to draw a squirrel?
Oh my God. Jim, I'm sorry. Morgan.
Guys, 10.
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't make mistakes. I mean, you're copying it straight down. So mistakes should be minimal. Next up, characters. If the plot is what happens in the story, the character is Snyder.
Who's in the story?
Way to play my game. Who is in the story? The people, animals, things. And it goes back and forth. Like sometimes a sponge is just a sponge. Other times a sponge is a character. Like if it wears a pair of pants and lives in a pineapple under the sea, then all of a sudden your sponge becomes a character. Sometimes a toaster is just a thing you put bread into when you're hungry. But other times the toaster is brave and goes on adventures with their kitchen items. It just sort of depends as you go through it. Sometimes they're characters, sometimes they're not. It's just, as I had a kid to earlier, I was like, it's the things that walk and talk in a story. And I'm like, oh, so crippled people and mutes can't be in stories? Like, I'm like, so it just sort of depends on the different stories. We'll figure it out. That's part of the arguing we'll get into. Because one of the things we get to argue each time is like, who are the 3 most important characters? He's like, but there's 7 characters. I'm like, I know. Here's where thinking comes in. Which are the 3 most important ones? I'm like, but I disagree with you. And I'm like, I know. That's how thinking works. We get to have a disagreement. Disagreeing is fun. Next up, setting. There are 2 parts to the setting. Hopefully you're seeing my pattern. Plot, what happens. Character, who is in the story. Setting is?
Where is the story takes place?
Where and?
When.
The when and the where. the time, and the place. I try to set it up as a pattern to make it as easy as possible for you to remember. It's almost like I was trying to be nice to you. Don't let it go to your head. So the when, the where, like they say it's in a pineapple under the sea, that's part of the setting. A long, a galaxy far away, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. The same idea.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
What year is it in SpongeBob though?
Well, whenever he leaves the water and he goes like the beaches, it seems like modern times, and they're not flying in cars. So I'm saying like modern times. Although we're getting close to flying cars, so nowish. So it has to be both time and place, which gets tough in some of our stories because they don't always, like as Vinny pointed out, sometimes they don't tell you in the story, so you're going to have to use clues. And I'll ask you, what was the setting for SpongeBob? You're like, pineapple under the sea. I'll go, when did it take place? Like, And I'm like, well, what clues can you use? He works at a restaurant, so that has to be somewhat modern times. It's probably not caveman times. But there is a talking sponge, so maybe we have enough nuclear radiation that it's the future. I don't know. Now it gets tougher. I give you easy, easier, easiest, tough one. Because point of view, you can't use point of view to define point of view. And I try to stick with my same theme. Connor?
The way we're told the story.
Ooh, I like that. Not the way I did it, but not a bad guess. Charlie?
What type of view? Like,
Not bad either. I went a little easier than that one. Vinny?
Who's telling the story?
Good, but I already used who up there. I tried not to double dip, so I'm afraid that'd confuse kids. But I used the same letters.
Why?
How the story
Nice
told.
done, Gracie. How the plot is told to us. See, I used the same letters as who. I just rearranged them. I put them in a box and I shook them really hard. They got all confused like little children. How the plot is told to us in the story. And this is how we're going to be figuring out what's going on. Do we have a main character talking to us? Do we have a narrator talking to us? Does the narrator follow one person? Does the narrator follow multiple people? Like in ours, we have a narrator following that one person, right? No. I think it's the main character talking to us. Now I'm confused. Wednesday, Hillary. Yes, the main character talking to us. I don't know the main character's name. I know we have Hillary in there.
I think Hillary is the main character.
No, Hillary's the friend that just got blackmailed because of the cheating.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the other girl who doesn't talk a whole lot because she's new to the group. And there's the main girl who is the one that has the crazy mom. And so she's like the one telling us the story. So I think it's first person.
Yeah.
And then we have our three examples. First person, third person limited, third person omniscient. Mr. Brovicast, you forgot second person. I didn't forget second person. Second person does exist, but I'm not going to make you necessarily know what it is because we're not going to do a whole lot with it. So second person's out there. You just don't have to freak out about it. So I'll explain. If you're in composition, by the way, if you're in the comp class right now, they're going to start beating you with second person, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you know it, go you. You're all smart ones. First person. How is the first person point of view story told to us?
By the main character telling the story.
There you go. The main character telling us what's happening to them. So this is where it says I, me, we. I was angry with my students. Me decided to smack them with a stick. We buried them in a box. Sorry, that's just my weekend. So along those lines, just can't use dialogue. And dialogue is where the characters talk, because that's what makes it tricky. So dialogue is the talky bits. I'm going to kill my students, said the evil teacher. That's still done in third person, because you can't use dialogue. Mr. Brovicast, you just confused me. Don't worry, I have examples I'm going to show you in a moment. I've got your back. It's almost like I'm going to try and do this teaching thing. Third person limited, and I know on yours I gave you really small areas to write in. I apologize. That's because that's more of a you issue than a me issue. I figured I'd just give you the lines and then make you deal with it, and then I can just sit back and giggle. So I figured it allows you to be creative in your problem solving. Third person limited and third person omniscient are very similar to each other. It's not the main character telling us the story, it's someone else. And who tells us in a third person? Be strong with your answer.
Narrator.
Good job. The narrator. The difference being third person limited. How many characters does the narrator follow?
Multiple.
One.
One, because you're limited. If it's omniscient, it follows.
All of them.
There you go. Usually more than one. It doesn't always have to follow all, but at least more than one. Limited, narrator is only doing one character. All creepy, like over the shoulder. Creepy, 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 following that one character around. Omniscient, it's a big fancy Latin word that means confused children. And so narrator tells the following many characters. It really means all-knowing, but who cares about that? That's like learning and stuff. So omni means you're following many characters. And here's where the he, she, and they pop up and stuff like that. And once again, you don't have to write all of that word for word. If you have some idea already what it is and you can jot down the bits that help you, jot that down. If you're confused, write more of it down. Because next week when you get to the quiz, the more you have written down, the more it helps you. You're like, Mr. Brovicast, I'm a professional, I got this. Then you write down as much as you need. I trust you until you fail. And then your parents and I have to make fun of you. Because mockery makes you a stronger person. In a moment, this is going to disappear. What I'm going to do is we're going to do example stories together. And I have a whole bunch of example ones we're going to take a look at. That's the best way to try and train you. So we're going to read it and then have you guys try to figure out if it's first person, third person limited, or third person omniscient. Speaking of which, real quick, another way of trying to help you remember these, if you've ever played this game called Minecraft, or actually almost any video game, there's a button you can hit that changes the viewpoint. In Minecraft, normally you just see a hand and like a little pickaxe as you go running around. That's first person. If you hit the button because you want to see your skin, you're like, I want to see my little monkey skin. And all of a sudden it pops back and you're looking over the shoulders, you go running around with that awkward little walk. That's going to be in third person. So that gives you the same idea. There's a game called first person shooters, like Doom. I think Call of Duty is more of a third person shooter we'll get to.
Overwatch.
No.
Overwatch is
That's first person.
third person.
Fortnite.
It is? Yeah, because you don't see that. You don't. Is it?
No, because you see, like, you can see, like...
Yeah, you do, because right. I'm now thinking of Lucio with the gun, like, sitting right there on my viewpoint we're trying to play. And so, yeah, so Overwatch be the same idea of a first person. Fortnite, third person, because that's where you're always, like, over the back of your character's skin, watching them build and stuff like that. So video games are actually a fairly decent way of knowing the difference between first person and third person. If you can only see your character's arms, first person. If you're creepily over the shoulder, third person. Oh, third person omniscient. Fortnite, when you die and you then follow someone else, now it's omniscient. And then that person dies and you follow the next person, omniscient, as it keeps jumping around to other characters. Our first example says, Zach repeated the phrase to himself again as he glanced at the numbers scrawled on the piece of paper clutched in his hand. As long as he kept his cool and didn't look suspicious, he'd be fine. This would be easy. Now here's what you get to do. You're going to get a chance to cheat off of other people. I'm going to have you raise your hand when we get to the one you think it is. First person, third person limited, third person omniscient. If you have no idea, look to the person you think is smart, wait till they raise their hand, and then you raise it with them. You're like, I'm just as smart as that kid. Until it turns out they were wrong, and you're like, that kid's an idiot. And so we'll find out how good you do. All right, this one, raise your hand if you say first person, third person limited, third person omniscient. All right. So if it's not, how do you know it's not first person?
Because it's not in the point of view as the main character.
Nicely done. And how many characters does it follow?
One.
Go you. All right, so one down, not bad. We'll try another one.
Are you supposed to write that?
No, this is just you learning. Don't write it down unless you really hate yourself. I was awoken from sleep by the cry of fire. The curtains of my bed were in flames. The whole house was blazing. It was with great difficulty that my wife, myself, made our escape from the inferno. I resigned myself from then on to despair. Sorry, I had a pen in my pocket. Raise your hand if you say first person, third person limited, third person omniscient. How do you know it's first person?
Because it's
Me, myself, and I.
I know this. Now that you think you're all fancy, I'll make it tougher. I'm going to give you a poem. Let's see if you can figure out a poem. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. And Millie befriended a stranded star, whose rays 5 languid fingers war, and Molly was chased by a horrible thing, which raced sideways while blowing bubbles. And May came home with a smooth round stone, as small as a world, as large as a loam. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, is always ourselves we find in the sea. Beautiful. I didn't write it. So on this one, for first person, raise your hand. Third person limited. Third person omniscient. Now, I thought you guys were all just waiting to cheat off each other. So, how many characters does it follow?
multiple.
How many?
2.
Three. Four.
If only it was right there in the first Maggie and Millie. Nicely done. So now to make it even tougher, I have written a story. And so we're going to take a look at a story I've written, and I broke it up into sections where it keeps changing the point of view. We're going to see if you can figure out the point of view in each section. Now, it's not a real story, it's just me entertaining myself, but we'll see how it goes.
Something like kids crying.
It's okay if you're creeped out. As I walked up the hill, I realized that the air was too quiet. There was no sound from the bunny monster, who was nearly always growling from the base of the old maple tree. I thought I saw a shadow move high up on the slope. When I looked again, It was gone. Where is that creature? I asked under my breath. On this one, first person, third person limited, third person omniscient. Then those of you who said first person, why do you say first person? I tried to make it tricky by putting that part in third person, but the actual other parts in first person. Well done. I wasn't able to completely trick you. I'll try to get better. As the scared student walked up the hill, she realized everything was too quiet. Watching her, the bunny monster tipped his head back and drew breath to growl. But just as the first "Grrr" passed his lips, he heard the crack of a dead branch off to his left. Startled, he looked over, cocking his horned head to one side, and watched the strange man with great interest. As the creepy man saw the student start up the hill, he moved quickly into the shelter of a huge old maple tree. If she saw him now, everything would be ruined. I'll grab her as she walks past, he thought to himself, and smiled a wicked grin. Perfectly normal story. If you say first person, third person limited, third person omniscient. Okay, if you guys all seem confident you're omniscient, what's the first character it follows?
A girl.
Oh, wait.
Girl. Second character it follows?
Bunny monster.
Third person?
Old
creepy
man.
All right, nicely done.
That's what I meant.
Man. You got it on the first try the second time. Sorry. We'll try another one. The evil old teacher watched as the girl came up the hill and looked around uneasily. It's almost like she's looking for something. He thought, I wonder what it is. Focusing on the ground, the man noticed a small furry creature in the weeds, but ignored it. His real prey was walking towards him and had no idea he was even there. First person, third person limited, third person omniscient. Ooh, we have disagreement. Finally, it means I've tricked somebody. So those of you who say limited, what one character are you saying it follows?
The evil teacher.
And those of you who say omniscient, what other character are you saying it follows?
The girl, the bunny monster.
No, but
So where does it follow the girl?
it just says the man sees it.
Yeah.
So the man sees her, then it's still talking about the man. So is there any other part where it's not following the creepy man?
No.
Then that would make it limited. So I tried to trick you by saying he's looking at other people, but it's still what he is
I
doing.
think you jumped.
Noah?
Is the bunny monster a jackalope?
Kind of. I have pictures of him over here. Like over here, there's a bunny monster. You can't see it from your guys on this
Are
side.
are
There's
those
a bunny
called
monster there.
jackals?
There's a
That's
bunny.
a jackalope.
They're like that, but different. They sometimes have one horn, like unibunnies, and they're small creatures, and they tend to feed on small children's toes, and they live in the corners of schools and like to scamper about, and they're
Are they
very
actually
frightened.
real?
I've not found enough research on them, but I like to believe they're real in my heart. That's what's important. And I also write all of my own quizzes and tests because I refuse to give pre-made ones because they're boring, and they tend to pop up in a lot of my quizzes and tests because apparently I'm insane. Let's see if you can figure out this one. As you sit in the grass and wiggle your evil bunny tail, you watch as the girl walks up the hill whistling. Does she have any idea I'm even here, you wonder? But you dismiss the idea as silly. No one even knows about you. That is until you look up and see the creepy old geezer standing only a few feet away from you. First person? Third person limited?
No.
Third person omniscient?
I'm changing mine to first person.
None of the above.
I'm changing
Oh,
mine to first
no, it's none of those.
It is none of the above because it's the one I've not taught you yet. I was trying to trick you.
Second person.
Second person is whenever you say you, like you are losing points and you are not making good choices. We don't use them in stories very often because you don't say like, you see a dragon. You're like, no, I don't. It doesn't work in stories. So that's second person. So now you've been introduced to all of them. Tomorrow we get to do more stuff and reading and learning and bring in your book report books and stuff like that.